I've got to chat about my guest this hour. And for the next is Sidra Naeem, who speaks on Islamic issues regularly here at Gateway 97.8. We've got to catch up with her, talk about the London Bridge terror attack, the Manchester bombing. There's lots that's been happening since we last met up. My guest this evening is Sidra Naeem. She's a speaker for the Islamic faith, All Faiths Essex. We've heard her before on Gateway. I know that she does the other radio stations as well, because I was listening to her just the other day on another well-known radio station. I won't even mention the name of it here, but I've got her this evening on my station, so that's good news, isn't it? Welcome, Sidra. Lovely to have you back. And I have to say that tonight you're pretty in pink.
Well, the weather is so lovely out there. It's so sunny, and I can't exactly wear black, can I, in this weather? So.
But the pink headscarf and the pink jacket, everything you got coordinated really well today. So
thank you very much. I've just come back from work, so that's why I'm a bit dressed a bit posh.
And your work is at Anglia Ruskin University, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Because let's tell our listeners what exactly you do there.
Well, I'm a Muslim chaplain there, so basically that's what I'm doing. I do lots of lectures as well. I'm a lecturer as well.
So and discussing with the students and helping them understand Islam, perhaps?
Yes, lots of guidance spiritually, guidance for all students, really, counselling and things like that, looking after the prayer room. It's a very, very big role, actually, a lot of responsibility, especially with the current climate. I support staff as well, actually. And
the current climate is, how are you feeling at the moment? Because since we last met up, we've had 3 items now. You know, since I contacted you last week, there were 2. Now we've got 3. We've had the Manchester bomb attack. Mm-hmm. We've had the London Bridge terror attack, that's being called, well, both terrorist related, and now this horrendous, horrible fire at Grenfell Tower in North Kensington in London, which again involves Muslims, lots of people of all different faiths, which of course, you know, you come in here to talk about. I mean, it's not been a very good summer so far,
It's not been a good year, I don't think. The year started off bad. It's just one atrocity to the next, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the Manchester one was really bad enough, and you know, I didn't want to go to work the next day again, the usual feeling. Yeah. Muslims were being attacked everywhere, acid attacks, headscarves being pulled off, abuse in the streets.
These are items that aren't making the general news, though, aren't they? Are they?
I think that they are, but maybe not in the very big mainstream news like BBC. But these items, Muslims are definitely aware of.
Yeah.
And then we didn't have time to get over that one, and then London Bridge happened. That one really did depress me because I didn't want to go out. I didn't go out after that for a couple of days. I was too scared to.
Yeah.
Someone actually very close to me, her car got burnt down in Basildon.
Really?
I've been asked to say that today on the radio show. The police do know about that. Completely burnt down. It blew up, actually. That's how much fire was in there.
Yeah.
Someone put petrol under the car and set it alight.
Well, this has not made any papers that I've seen.
Well, the Basildon does know, the race hate crime know, the police do know.
Right.
It might come in the newspaper, I don't know.
Do you think that all of this is a reaction to these big events that we've seen recently? It's like fueling the fire of hate crime.
Of course, because she's Muslim, she's the only Muslim there in that area. And there were so many cars parked around her car. Why her car? It has to be race hate crime or faith hate crime is what I call it nowadays.
I've seen a news item today that there's a group called Britain First, which is, as we know, is a very anti-Islamic group. I think they've been somewhere near the area of the Grenfell Tower fire, and they've been causing, you know, a little bit of tension in that area, and there is a lot of tension at the moment, we suspect. And I saw an Islamic speaker, somebody who's volunteering in the area of the tower, speaking on television this morning, very, very angry that this has almost been allowed to happen, this fire, the building inspections not being kept up to standards, and possibly some cost-cutting measures going on on councils that don't undertake the work themselves now because they don't have the staff. It gets farmed out to a company. The company possibly, is not adhering to all the regulations. They're saying that they are, but the company Ryden that we heard this morning quickly changed their statement and removed a couple of words from their statement. So I do believe there'll be an investigation. But of course, recovery underway. 17 deaths announced when I heard this afternoon, but hundreds of people lived in that tower block, Cedra.
Yes, quite a lot are actually in hospital at the moment, aren't they? Recovering from burns and things. So it's not just the ones who've passed away, it's also the ones who are now recovering, and also
some missing as well, and families haven't been reunited.
Yeah, the trauma of it all, and a lot of them have been made homeless and they haven't got clothes or anything,
Yeah, we don't seem to see these council people on the streets mucking in with the volunteers, do we? They make an appearance for about half an hour, and I mean, somebody spoke up for them this morning. A resident was saying, where are the council? What are they doing here? And then somebody spoke up on their behalf saying, well, they have been here. I'm sure they have. But I think what the residents of that area are saying is they don't actually physically muck in all the volunteering efforts that go on. It is left to volunteers, some who have even travelled from afar to go and volunteer in North London.
Yes, a lot of Muslims that I know have all been volunteering and raising money actually for clothes. Yep. There was a message just today going around with WhatsApp that we need clothes and all kinds of stuff, everyday goods really for these poor people because they are actually literally homeless.
Yep, and things for babies as well. There was a baby thrown from the 10th floor and fortunately caught, but a lot of other people didn't make it, sadly. And I don't know, meeting up with you today, I'm really almost, in some ways, I can't be lost for words, but I almost am lost for words of what some of the reports I've been hearing.
Yeah, it's very, very sad world at the moment,
draining,
isn't
it? It's
one atrocity
draining
to the next. This time, it didn't even involve, terrorism. This was a completely natural cause, if you like.
But the fear of it was there. That people suspected is that, people were saying, is this another terror attack? Because there's such an insecure feeling about which is what you've been describing with the hate crime.
When I heard that news, I thought, oh my God, it's another one.
Another one straight away. It's your first thing on your mind now, isn't it?
It is.
And of course you're going to react that way when there's Westminster Bridge, Manchester, London Bridge and Borough Market, and then this all in quick succession.
Very quickly, actually. I mean, the Manchester one we just about was getting over, and then the next one happened. And it's just so sad. And this time, I mean, it's the month of Ramadan at the moment, and we're all fasting. And at the time of London Bridge disaster, when it all happened, did you know it was just as we had opened our fast, and it was actually everyone, normal practicing Muslims, were all getting ready for nighttime prayers. And that's exactly at the time when this happened. And it just makes you think these people, they couldn't be practicing Muslims because were they not opening their fast? You're at your most humble point when you open your fast. You don't have the energy for starters, let alone plot something evil like that. And then on top of that, then they didn't go and pray. The nighttime prayers like they were supposed to. It just makes you wonder, were these actually Muslims? Yeah. It's a little bit like... we wouldn't class Ku Klux Klan, would we, as Christians?
No.
And like that, Muslims don't regard these people, terrorists as Muslims. We really don't. They might say themselves that they're doing this in the name of Islam. They're actually hijacking our wonderful religion and just... spoiling it for the rest of us,
Yes, well, in a few minutes' time, we've got to take the travel. We've also got to talk about ways, perhaps, that we can be on our guard and combat this as well. What more could Muslims possibly do?
Yes.
Because this is something that is coming from within the Muslim faith. We've also got to talk about martyrdom, because one of the terrorists who died in the London Bridge attack, they did find an English translated copy of the Quran. It was found open to page on martyrdom. So we'll get Sidra's take on that in just a few moments' time, right after we've taken a look at the roads and the trains. This is Gateway 97.8 and a very special edition of Drive Time tonight with me, Ros, here till 7 o'clock.
Gateway 97.8 Drive Time. I'm with Ros Connors.
Drive Time with Ros for a Thursday, a special edition of the show. And my guest this hour, Sidra Naeem. We're talking about all sorts of things. We're talking about the Manchester bombing. We're talking about the Westminster Bridge attack, the London Bridge incident, and, of course, now the Grenfell Tower disaster, the fire there. And we have the other thing we haven't talked about, Sidra, is in the middle of all of this, we've had a general election, which hasn't turned out exactly, I think, as Theresa May wanted it.
Yes.
And she's still won, but not with an overall majority, and is now doing a deal with the DUP in Northern Ireland, and Brexit negotiations are due to start on Monday. Yes. We've just had the flash through on that. So
there's a lot happening, isn't there?
There's a lot happening at once. We're trying to get our head round some of the things that have been happening out there. And we mentioned just before the break about the London Bridge terror attack. A copy of the Quran was found open in one of the terrorists' vehicles, and it's open to a page, and there was a piece in it on martyrdom.
Right.
So I thought I would ask you this evening, what on earth could be, this person be reading from that book, from the Quran?
Now, what the person has done is they have taken that verse out of context. Yes, there is in the Quran, what happened was there was a particular war, and it was Muslims against pagans. Okay, it was a battle that happened at the time of the Prophet, and lots and lots of Muslims died in that battle.
This is at the time of the Prophet Muhammad.
Yes, this is at that time, and lots of Muslims died in that battle. And then a verse of the Quran was revealed. So every time something happened, sometimes a verse of the Quran would be revealed by God.
So what does that verse say?
And the verse said that don't worry. Basically, it was there to reassure Muslims that don't worry, those people who died in that battle, they will go to heaven, and they will, live forever in heaven. That's basically, in a nutshell, what that verse says.
And that's what it means. But
yes. Now, that was a specific context. That was, first of all, a battle that was already going on. And in that battle, there was a lot of Muslims that were slaughtered. And it was in that battle, it was for a reason that God sent that verse down. It was to reassure Muslims that don't worry, those people that died for their religion or for their country or whatever will go to heaven. Okay? What that does not mean then is that these terrorists take that verse out of context and think they can make a war themselves, which is not even happening.
Which is what they are doing, really, isn't it? It's almost like they're waging war on...
Yeah, making a war themselves, which is not even happening in the first place. Then killing innocent lives to go with it, which you're not allowed to do, because in Islam, if you kill one person, it's like killing the whole of mankind. We're not even allowed to harm animals. And then on top of all of that, kill themselves.
Yeah, which is
suicide,
bizarre, isn't it?
Which is definitely 100% very clearly written in the Quran. You are not allowed to kill yourself.
Do they see that as their passport to heaven then, and this glory
they're
land?
not looking at that verse in the right context. It's quite satanic, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, Satan is
it's
trying
certainly
to...
evil, yes, to do that sort of thing.
Satanic, the way they're thinking.
And for three young men, and this is another thing that's come to light with this string of attacks that we got. It's young people.
Yes.
I've found that the older Muslims, that they're the ones that the violence is abhorrent, but the young people are the ones that seem to be being persuaded and being influenced by these things.
First of all, they haven't understood the religion. They really haven't, because they're not looking at you have to look at the context the verse of the Quran was revealed in. If you don't look at the context, you can twist anything.
Yeah.
You've got to look at the context. And these children, in a way, who are doing all of this, they haven't really understood the religion.
No.
They've been brainwashed by whoever.
What about
we
the parents,
never get to the
though?
root.
Does the parents,
do you know, that really gets to me.
Yeah.
Really, really gets to me. Where are the parents in all of this? Do they not keep an eye on their children?
I think, well, it's not just a problem with Muslims, is it? Isn't it a problem with all parents, Christian and white, British, everybody alike? We're not watching what our children are doing online, are we?
It's your responsibility as a parent to keep an eye on your children, keep them away from harm and bad, know who are they mixing with, where are they going.
What would your recommendations be?
Well, you need to keep an eye on your children, and they're not your boss, you're their boss, you're their parents. I've had enough of mums crying to me all the time, my child doesn't listen to me, and he doesn't listen to me, and he answers me back, and he goes out. Well, you're their parent, and you tell them don't go.
Well, I have a friend who has another friend, and this guy, he's sadly widowed. He's been left to bring up 2 children on his own, and they're sort of like later teenage now, early 20s. And I think the daughter's okay, but the son, I think he's been having a bit of difficulty with. And we're talking about a white Christian father and son here, but the boy, the shouts at the father, answers back. If he hasn't got onto the computer, which the daughter's been using or something, within 20 minutes he gets like all this attention problem and starts banging things, and I need to be on the computer and everything. I mean, back in my day, children were seen and not heard. That was the expression, and you did what you were told.
Yes, and our parents, if you think of that era, were a lot more stricter, and there were strict guidelines. There, even in schools, there was the cane and things like that.
Yeah, that's all been ruled out now,
That's all ruled out, and that's what the problem is, because I don't think those rules are in place anymore, and children feel they can do what they like. And actually parents actually scared of their children. That's the era we're going into now.
So with Muslim children, or with, let's say, some Muslim children, some of them are connecting up perhaps onto these websites, or, you know, linking into some of these Islamic State videos that get posted.
That is a very big problem, and I honestly feel that the internet needs to be monitored. I think that YouTube, for example, can ban these videos that are out there.
They don't do it, though, do they? I've seen some pretty nasty
it was on
stuff.
YouTube. Yes, I mean, apparently it was YouTube videos, wasn't it? That all 4 of these terrorists.
Well,
the one in
Manchester, on YouTube, you can access Islamic State videos of people being set on fire in a cage. You know, you could up until recently. I don't know if it's still there, but I mean, extremely nasty stuff.
Well, there you go then. That's the first thing that needs to be done, is the internet needs to be monitored, just like there's no pornography, for example, on YouTube, as far as I know. They've stopped that, haven't they? Well, YouTube can stop all of this material.
Yeah, child sex exploitation and Islamic State propaganda, which we're seeing all too much of. Here on Gateway, we've got the main news headlines next. Searches continue of the block of flats gutted by a massive fire in West London. A Syrian refugee is the first victim to be named. 23-year-old Mohammed Al-Hajali has been described as a kind and charitable man by his family. He's among 17 residents who are known to have died, although that figure's expected to rise. People have been donating items, including clothing, toiletries and toys for the survivors who have been left homeless. These women are among the volunteers.
I was watching the news and I said, no, I have to come and help.
There's been people from all around London, not just locally, and people are giving up their time to come down.
Well, a public inquiry will now be carried out. Police have been called to a church close to the Tower where London Mayor Sadiq Khan's paid a visit. And hundreds of people have gathered outside, and it's understood one man has been taken away.
Music, information, 97.8.
Drive Time with Roz Connors.
Gateway 97.8 Drive Time with Roz, and a special edition of the programme really today, talking about all sorts of subjects, including the Grenfell Tower fire, the London Bridge attack. We've been talking about the Manchester bombing. It's all doom and gloom. I guess Sidra Naeem, I wish we could come into the studio and talk about some nice subjects for a change, but we always seem to be prompted by these incidents that are happening out there. And the piece you said on martyrdom just before the news there sounds very interesting. It sounds like it's being taken out of context by these terrorists.
Yes.
And that must be infuriating for
it's really worrying.
Muslims.
It's really worrying. I mean, what these suicide bombers, the other thing they need to understand is that it's God who gave us a life.
Yeah.
According to
Islam.
They
don't seem to want to understand it, though, do they?
Well, I think they're just twisted. I mean, according to Islam, God gave us a life. It's up to him to take it away. It's not up to us to take away a life which God has given us.
Suicide is a
very great sin.
Yeah.
It's a very big sin. In fact, did you know that according to Islam, if you commit suicide, the way that you commit suicide, you will reenact that again and again in hellfire.
Really?
Now, have you heard of that one then?
I've not heard that one before, but
you will reenact. So say you drink poison and commit suicide. This is an example. There's a chamber in hellfire that you'll go to.
Yeah, like a loop of infinity.
Yes.
Where you'll do that, commit that act.
Again and again
and feel
again.
the pain from it again and
feel
again.
the pain from it again. So these suicide bombers who are doing this, this is what's going to happen to them. They're going to go to that chamber in hellfire and they're going to keep doing that again and again and again. Do they not know that bit?
Well, they obviously don't or don't want to.
Yes.
And I mean, I would want to say I hope that that's true because, one would say that's what they deserve.
They do. They do deserve that, and that is what will happen. So, something is terribly going wrong here. I think that everyone needs to come together.
Yeah, I was going to say, what can we do to stop it? Well, does everybody say this now?
Yes.
Even Theresa May, the Prime Minister, with the London Bridge, enough is enough, was her statement.
Yes.
But how do we stop it? We can't seem to. You can't stop somebody driving a vehicle into a load of people. It's not like they're stealing a nuclear missile or stealing this, stealing that, and or driving a tank. It's lorries, it's vans, it's cars.
So basically monitor the internet. Again, like I said, YouTube needs to ban these kinds of videos in the first place. Also, I feel that terrorist material needs to be harder, should not be out there to be, it's available, isn't it? Where they're getting all these things from, that needs to be scrutinised.
What about the people travelling from the UK to places like Syria where Islamic State are based and then travelling back again and being allowed to travel
But where
back?
are these poor countries then getting all of these things from? I mean, I was told, and I saw a video actually, it was shown on BBC Good Morning, the morning breakfast shows, where an imam was talking about Saudi Arabia, where Donald Trump went recently.
Yeah, this has been mentioned recently
and
as well.
And apparently he sold a huge number of, weapons to Arabia, so that needs to be stopped. It's not all about money
so it's
making.
Governments appeasing governments, possibly, and I'll say possibly corrupt governments.
Yeah. So we need it harder for terrorist material to be available. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Some things I think Muslims are definitely getting together on. I mean, I don't know if 130 imams got together and they wrote a statement and they said, we're not burying those terrorists on our ground because they're not Muslim. They're not Muslim, they're not going to be buried here. And the same happened to the boy Salman in Manchester. All their mums got together, they go, he's not being buried in Manchester.
No.
So that's, I think, a good thing, because that will make it clear to anyone else who's got these intentions, they're not accepted by Muslims when they do this.
The problem seems to start at home, though. Young people, and I was going to say, and when I emailed you just the other week, I was saying disaffected youth. Seems to be, people. I mean, Salman Abedi was born here.
Yes, he
born
was
here. Although he had, Libyan parents. He was born here, brought up in Manchester. So, but he obviously didn't feel like a Manchurian. He was feeling his allegiance lay somewhere else.
He was going back and forth a lot because his friend actually came on publicly came on the news and said that he used to go every summer holidays back. Now, what is really worrying is that with the Manchester bloke, Salman, he was actually referred to the police by 3 people. One of them was his own mum. Now, it must take a lot of guts for a mother to report her son to the police. Then the local imam banned him from the mosque.
So the signs were there, but it seems like no action was taken.
Yeah, so the imam banned him from the mosque and also reported him to the police, and his best friend did. That's 3 people. With this London Bridge attack, everybody knows that one of them was on the radar already. Well, the other one that happened on near Houses of Parliament, he was on the radar as well, the one who came out of prison. And then this time with London Bridge, one of them came on the jihadi programme that was on
we saw some clips of it, the Channel 4.
Well, why wasn't nothing done then? If he was publicly coming out on the news and saying all of this rubbish, why didn't the police do anything about it? So I just feel the police need more money.
Is it something else though, Sidra? Is it something like the police don't act because could there be the faintest possibility, like we've seen with the Rotherham child sex scandal, that they were paralysed by political correctness and fear of being called racially prejudiced? Could it be something like that? Could there be a grain of truth in that?
No, I think that was actually publicised more by EDL and people like that. I think that when the government wants to make harsh rules, they do.
Yeah.
I really do. I actually personally feel there's 2 things, okay? One is I know that the police have got hardly any manpower because of all the cuts.
Yeah.
Theresa May will know all about this. There's so many cutbacks when it comes to the police. No money. They're merging police station after police station together. I know the Havering Police, for example, have now had to merge with Barking, Dagenham and Redbridge has now joined them.
It's too big an area.
Yes,
and
they haven't got the manpower to
I know
do
exactly what you're saying. I remember an incident a while back now, and I'm going back some 20 years, where I was in a position where I had to call the police. And I'm saying 20 years ago. It must be 20 years ago, and where they were centralising the call centres.
Yes.
And I think ringing Essex Police, you think you're going to get through to a police station in Basildon where you need help. And I phoned up this, and presumably it's a call centre somewhere like Chelmsford, and I said, there's an issue taking place outside in the street, it's blah, blah, blah street. And the person on the other end said, where's that? And I was kind of stunned, really, that the police didn't know the location where I was talking about, and I thought, well, it's in your county, it's on your watch, and it makes me think, well, where are you based? It's a bit like the shopping, and with certain home delivery supermarkets where they have home deliveries and you ring up the customer service and it's based in South Africa or somewhere like that. They're not going to know where your street is, is it? Can't surely get like that with the police.
Yeah, I do think the cutbacks are having an impact on their on what they can do. They haven't got the manpower. The Prevent programme definitely needs to be looked at.
For the benefit of our listeners, what is the Prevent programme?
Right, the Prevent programme is basically the government's counter-terrorism strategy, and it aims to stop people becoming terrorists or supporting terrorism or extremist causes. There's 4 parts of Prevent. Pursue is the first bit, which stops terrorist attacks. Prevent is the next bit, which is to stop people becoming terrorists or supporting them. Protect is to strengthen our protection against terrorist attacks, which I'm sure is what is happening at the moment. And prepare is something that happened after the attacks.
Yeah, for the
both
first
of them.
bit of it that you've just mentioned there, that
Yes.
hasn't been happening, has it? With
Yes.
the London Bridge and
Yes.
and Salman Abedi
Yes.
on the radar, those first bits of prevent haven't been happening.
No, so prepares to mitigate the impact of a terrorist attack. Those are the 4 parts. Now, what usually happens is if somebody is suspicious of somebody who is displaying extremist ideas or is showing radicalisation, you would normally go to the police and you would report them. They would then go through a channel. And the channel is where they are looked at to see are there potential risk or not. They're either then counselled or mentored, or they're released. That is where the problem is, because all of these people were all referred to the police, and somehow they escaped the channel. So we need to look at who's on the channel, what kind of training have they had. We need more Muslims on that channel.
There's not enough Muslims on the...
No, there isn't.
No.
I mean, the chair of the Strategic Independent Advisory Group for Essex, I actually know him, and he says there are no Muslims on the channel, they're not involved, there's no transparency, no figures are even given out.
Though? We don't know why this is.
Well, I personally feel that if there's Muslims on that channel, they can filter down the amount of people that are coming in, because they are the only ones who will be able to tell you what is extremist behaviour and what isn't.
Yeah.
A non-Muslim, for example, may think praying 5 times a day is extreme, or Ramadan is extreme.
Yeah, but this doesn't explain why we haven't got them there.
No, it doesn't. But we need Muslims on there so that they can filter down the number of people being referred. They are the only ones who can tell you
Well, I hope somebody's listening to
what's
this tonight
in the
who
religion
might...
and what isn't.
Yeah.
And at the moment, you know what's happening? There's too many people being referred. I know that there was a girl, because remember, I'm an advisor for Essex schools, and I've had so many teachers emailing me saying, look, this girl, she drew a round circle with a stalk. And I thought it was a bomb, so I've referred her to Prevent.
So there's lots of false alarms as well with it.
And do you know what that was? A watermelon.
Oh, right, okay.
There was another physics student who very naively went up to his teacher and asked about nuclear fission, which we know is on the curriculum, and the police. The next minute, the police were the police were arresting him. So we're having too many of these silly things where the strategy is not clear to people.
Have we got to have the silly things to catch the bad ones?
I think that the strategy needs to be clearer. I really do. There's no guidelines on who, under what circumstance do you send to Prevent and who do you not, and what is extreme in terms of the religion of Islam and what is not extreme.
Okay.
What is part of the religion and what isn't.
Okay, well, continue this talk in a few minutes' time. We've got to take a break for travel now. It's 9 minutes away from 6 o'clock.
Gateway 97.8.
Basildon and East Berwick's brightest sound. From the heart of the Eastgate.
Drive Time with Roz Connors.
4 minutes away from 6 o'clock, and the main news headlines coming up at the top. This is Gateway 97.8 Drive Time with Roz and my guest Sidra Naima. Father's Day, is that something you celebrate in the Islamic world?
Yes, we do celebrate Father's Day every day, basically, we're supposed to, because fathers are very, very important in Islam.
Absolutely.
They're the one, without fathers, you can't make a child, basically.
Well, in any religion,
you have
really.
to have a father there. We really respect fathers because we take on their name. If we look at our surname, that's our fathers. In Islam, you take on your father's religion as well. So our religion is actually from our father.
The question I'd ask is that the most popular boy's name seems to be Muhammad. Is that because of the Prophet Muhammad?
It is because of that. But did you know that since all this Islamophobia has gone out there, Muhammad is now no longer the most popular name in Islam.
They're calling them David and
yes, people are
names.
calling them neutral names, so you can't guess their religious identity.
I suppose from a job application point of view and things like that, where there could be discrimination.
And there definitely is. There's proof that there's discrimination with Muslim names. So Adam is the latest now. Did you know? Adam is a neutral name in Islam, and it's Christian as well.
Well, we won't tell too many people in case they start being prejudiced against people called Adam. Start checking them out.
But what's interesting is you can change the first name, but you can't change the surname.
No.
So the surname still gives it away that you're Muslim, really.
Well, I had a friend a long time back, this guy friend, and I mean, he's English, Christian, white. He happened to be born in Africa because his dad was working out there at the time and his mum was there, and he happened to be born there. And the strange thing is he's faced questions on his nationality simply because of what it says on his birth certificate, and he's as English as you or I, you know, and sometimes he takes quite a lot of offence to the fact that, you know, it comes into question. But maybe, you know, even us white British sometimes are on the end of the prejudice and the questions that get asked, you know, and, you know, in a roundabout way that a lot of the black and Asian and Islamic people are facing. Yes. Well, we're coming up to the news at 6 o'clock, Cedra. I hope that you're going to stay for another hour and carry on discussing. I know we've got lots and lots to talk about, including Ramadan. Yes. We'll try and lighten the mood a little bit in the next hour.
Sadiq Khan's visited the scene this evening where he's been challenged.
The response from the local community has been amazing by this horrific, tragic fire.
We've seen nobody.
Understandably, the residents are very angry and concerned and have genuine questions that demand answers.
Someone needs to be held accountable.
Well, of course,
These deaths could have been prevented.
Just after 6 o'clock, and welcome to the third and final hour of Drive Time here with me, Roz, on Gateway 97.8. My guest tonight is Cedra Naeem. We're talking about the Islamic State and the terrorist attacks, the Grenfell Tower fire. It's a lot of gloomy stuff tonight.
Local radio from the heart of the East Gate, Gateway 97.8.
Drive Time with Roz Connors.
Drive time then till 7 o'clock, and my guest Cedra Naeem, and a regular guest here on the show. It's always lovely to have a chat, although we have to talk about really heavy stuff. This time last week, Cedra, I was just preparing for the election night show and broadcasting through the night, and I don't think anybody expected the outcome we were going to get. Did you?
I knew that it would be quite a fight between Labour and Conservative, actually.
Two-horse race, really, wasn't it?
Yes, because there was a lot of people that I personally know, you know, great big areas, really, who that would not have voted for Theresa May because of all the cutbacks, mainly. Education is a big sector there.
The uni fees and...
all university towns were not going to even touch Theresa May because of the cuts.
She's still got the biggest majority, but not enough, obviously, to avoid the hung parliament.
Yeah.
I think that from the results we saw UKIP's votes going down, and of course the loss of those from the Conservative, those votes then had to go somewhere else, and of course rather than being spread around the other parties, they probably added to Jeremy Corbyn and Labour.
That's what happened, actually. All the doctors, NHS, you can forget Theresa May again. She's promised all these cutbacks.
General feeling in those environments are that they've
and
had
I've got
enough.
both of those in my house, haven't I? Because there's teachers and the husband's a doctor. So there's the NHS gone. NHS not going to vote for Theresa May. Teachers, lecturers, universities, all the youngsters from the universities not going to vote for Theresa May. And then, you know, there was other people like the elderly because of all of that business, about their homes,
the legacies, and
all of those rules that came out for the old.
Although she did
people.
U-turn on that a little bit.
She did a little bit. I think probably because she thought she might lose there. So all the elderly that I know didn't vote for her either because of thanks to all of that. So
I mean, Jeremy Corbyn does seem to have tapped into the young. He seems to have encouraged a lot of young people to actually go to the polling booths and vote.
There was a lot of voters this
time.
year. Lots of voters. Muslims voted like anything this year.
Yeah.
They woke up all of a sudden, I think.
Do you think that the general feeling then in the Muslim world would be Labour rather than Conservative? Yes?
Yes, definitely.
And that would be because of what you said, the cutbacks. And
the cutbacks and also, Brexit, we're all for living together in peace and harmony.
So you'd all go for Remain. But you're not Remain.
The majority did, yes.
Yeah, at least you're not a Remoaner, though, Sidra. At least you don't go on about second referendums, which, of course, we've been hearing from the Liberal Democrats and Nicola Sturgeon's SNP, I think, even she's backed off of that now.
Yes.
Now because she lost a lot of votes, obviously, because a lot of Scotland, I know predominantly Scotland voted to Remain, but there were a lot that wanted Brexit.
Yeah, I think with politics, though, it's all about getting the votes, and they change. As soon as they get the votes, the policies change. We've seen that before so many times, haven't we? It's just all about power, money, and land, really, all these politics.
Which is what we were saying about Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
We've got to talk about some of we've been talking before the news in the last hour, we've been talking about Prevent. Now, you're saying about 4 types of terrorism?
Yes, there is actually 4 types of extremism actually written in the document. And I can tell you those quickly. The first one is ethno-national extremism.
Which document is this?
Prevent.
This is the Prevent document.
Yes,
okay.
and there are 4 types of extremism documented in here. So there's ethno-national extremism, those who have a particular idea of what they want the nation to be like, which is often one culture excluding all the others, and IRA is one of these. IRA or UDA.
Yeah.
Then there's political extremism, where Hitler comes into this one. Both far left, environmental and animal rights extremism, Earth Liberation Front, and far right like neo-Nazism. So there's the other one. Then there's religious extremism, and that's where ISIS come in, and Boko Haram and Ku Klux Klan and Army of God. These are all written down in here. Yeah. And it does...
Off mic, you were mentioning Daesh as well, which I know has been mentioned a lot.
Yes, they've actually killed more Muslims.
Yeah.
So how can they be Muslims then? Yeah. There you go. This religious extremism includes other religions, and Hinduism, Sikhism, Judaism are all mentioned there, all of them. I've actually got types of extremism here as well, but if I went into that, I'd be here forever. But there is
We've got time.
Document.
We've got time.
Okay, so the there's terror against terror, which is Judaic. That's what's written here. There's Rashtriya Jagaran Manch and Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. That's Hindu. And then Sikh, there's Babar Khalsa.
Right.
That's what's written in the document.
Okay.
And then the last one is Islamism. And what that is it's known as political Islam. It's a set of ideologies holding that Islam should guide social and political as well as personal life. And it says that clearly not all followers of Islam are followers of Islamism.
Right.
And that is true because you are supposed to follow the law of the land that you live in.
Yeah.
So if we live in this country, we follow whatever Theresa May says, and that's the end of that. And if you, as a Christian, lived in a Muslim country, did you know that you are allowed to set up your own laws and courts in your own in a Muslim country?
Your own laws and your own courts.
Courts in your own.
What, like a Christian laws? You mean, and Christian?
Yes,
really?
in a Muslim country.
I didn't know that.
Yes, that's how much tolerance there is. So first of all, us Muslims have to follow the law of the land that we live in.
My take would be, as the old saying goes, when in Rome you do as the Romans do.
Yes.
if you go and move to France, you learn French. You eat French food.
Exactly. So basically, that's what it says. And Christians, if they lived in a Muslim country, they would be allowed to set up their own laws and courts.
But how would that go down with the population, the indigenous population in those countries?
Because basically we have to look after the minority.
Yeah. Wouldn't there be resentment, though?
There wouldn't be, because we, in our religion, we are supposed to look after the minorities. And I have got a couple of bits here, actually.
Is that something that we don't do the other way around in this country, do you think? Do you think we not do that very well?
Well, I think, to be quite very honest with you, I think that England is a very tolerant country.
Yeah.
Because if you look at when the Holocaust happened and the Jews were expelled from more or less the whole of Europe, who gave them?
Yeah, it's the humanitarian thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, who gave them all the support they needed? It was England. We know refugees have come here, Muslim refugees from all over the world, from war-stricken lands, and we have given them refuge. So
yeah.
I don't think England is like that at all. I think that England is a very tolerant country.
But there are factions in this country that do hate and do repel.
Like you get in any country, really.
Well, like you're saying, the lady, you know, whose car was set on fire, that was clearly because of her faith. And, you know, obviously there's a burning feeling among some people here that, you know, oh, these people must be repelled, these people must be sent back to where they came from, these people must be this and that, interned or whatever.
Yes.
You know, how would you feel about interning the terrorists, the people that are on the radar?
Yes.
You know, the ones that we're saying, like Abedi, who had the Manchester bomb, the London Bridge, 2 of them at least were on the radar. You've said this. How would you feel about internment of such individuals to prevent any kind of terrorist attack happening, you know, when they, at that point in time, they haven't actually done anything, you know?
It would put future referrals off, to be quite honest. It's like reporting a race hate crime and the police may not do anything about it, and that person then, if it happens again, will think twice about referring.
Yeah, because we could end up with like a Guantanamo Bay situation, couldn't we, for British people?
Yes, so I think it's extremely important that the police...
Gateway 97.8 Travel.
From the heart of the East Gate, Gateway 97.8.
Drive Time with Ross Connors.
6:53, Drive Time with Roz, Gateway 97.8. My guest, Sidra Naeem, and we've been talking. It's been a very heavy show, hasn't it, tonight? But I think we've done the world justice. We've tried to put a few things into context about the Manchester bombing, the London Bridge. We've discussed that before as well. And going back, the Westminster Bridge attack. We've got Grenfell Tower featuring on the show tonight, and of course other local authorities now taking their tower blocks seriously, and Southend's council leader has asked for a review and inspection of the council's tower blocks following that fire, which has dominated the news, as we've seen. So that situation continuing. Currently 17 dead in London. We will get an update at 7 o'clock in the main news headlines. And one topic we haven't really discussed in full, and one that hopefully will lighten the mood just a little bit, Ramadan.
Yes, we're right in the middle of Ramadan. Those viewers who don't know what Ramadan is a holy month in the Islamic calendar when the Quran was revealed. And in that month we fast. Why we fast is before Islam came, first of all, the rich were not looking after the poor, and the rich had been rich for so long that they didn't really know what it felt like to be poor. They didn't have any sympathy, and because they didn't know what it felt like to be poor, they didn't help them. So fasting was revealed so that we could feel how the poor feel and then consequently help them, give them money, food, clothing. We also copy previous faiths. We know Jesus, for example, fasted in the desert for 40 days during Lent, and we know that Moses also fasted before
But we can say that the fasting does occur in the daytime, and in the evening you are allowed to eat. Otherwise you'd be feeling a bit faint, wouldn't you?
We're very lucky, because the previous fast of the previous nations, Christianity and Judaism, was a 24-hour fast, sunset to sunset. Even now Jews fast sunset to sunset.
And of course this time of the year in these countries you've got I've been mentioning in the weather, and you've been hearing it probably on the ends of the news bulletins. I mean, sunrise is at 4:40, and sunset is at 17 minutes past 9 tonight. And of course, the hours of daytime are getting slightly longer still as we head
it's about 18-hour fast at the moment.
So no breakfast.
We have a very heavy breakfast, but it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh no! So you have to get up very early.
Yes,
for
we
it.
do. So we get up and we have a nice breakfast. Enough that will last us during the day. But obviously the idea is to feel hungry for a little while.
But going to work, you're going to burn up energy and you're going to need to replenish, surely.
Yeah, I mean, we have so much patience, though, in this month. When you know you can't eat, then you just be patient, Obviously, we're not doing extraneous exercise or anything. Strenuous exercise like, going to the gym or anything like that. So it's tolerable, to be quite honest with you. The breakfast that I'm eating definitely is lasting me till about 7 o'clock. When I start cooking, that's when I get hungry. But
when you start smelling it.
Yes, but the idea is to feel a little bit hungry, so then it makes you really think of the poor, makes you really humble, and it makes self-restraint. It helps with self-restraint and patience, which is what it's supposed to be. It's really healthy for you, actually.
Well, I've got to say, I'm feeling hungry right now, and I'm going to have a nice curry tonight. I'm going to pop down to one of the local curries in Timberlog Lane, so I'm having that. Last night, I have to tell you, I saw a fantastic production at the Queen's Theatre in Hornchurch. It's called Bring On the Bollywood, all about the Hindi dancing.
Yes,
and
I've heard of that, actually. Was it good?
Got to go and see it, though you've only got until Saturday to get tickets. But I've just written a review over at the Gateway website, gateway978.com, and the Queen's Theatre have personally thanked me for the review on Twitter tonight. So thanks to the Queen's Theatre and Robbie Keller, gorgeous Robbie Keller, who stars as Ronnie Kapoor in that production. You must go and see it. He is brilliant. And of course, I interviewed him on Drive Time just a few weeks ago.
Did you? That's great.
Well, I've got to say thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Once again. And I hope that we inform and here at Gateway, and that we will give Muslims a voice as well.
Yes, you do, definitely. All the viewers are so happy with this programme. The Muslims are so happy. The listeners, the listeners are very, very happy with this programme.
They're listening tonight, are they? Or they'll hear it possibly from a podcast. They're either
listening live or they listen afterwards when I send it out through YouTube.
Okay.
But when you met them at the mosque, they all knew you, didn't they?
They did indeed. And I've still got my headscarf from that event and the lovely food that I had here. I did enjoy meeting the people in the mosque, and of course I do recommend that other Christian people get to know their local Muslims as well. Thank you very much, Cedra, for coming in. Do come in again. Let's hope that we're not discussing fires and bombings so much next time.
We're feeding the homeless this Sunday. At the church in Chelmsford, Trinity Methodist Church, at 7 o'clock. Everyone's welcome if they want to come and eat with us. All the ladies have made all the dishes, one dish each. And it's going to be a huge banquet of food. And we're giving that all to the homeless. The chess
and that's
homeless
this Sunday.
Coming.
Well, brilliant.
This Sunday.
Right. Well, we'll wish you luck with that. Thanks for coming in. We'll see you probably in about a month from now.